I woke up to the news and spoke to my friends in America, and I now am convinced that we are going to see a Trump presidency after what happened.
Yes. Why? Because they've told you they're more likely to vote for him? I think Tom mentioned some relatives he has this morning whose resolve has been stiffened by the events of the weekend. Is that what your friends were telling you? Kind of.
So the friends I have, half of them are like bolted on, we're going to vote for Biden.
Yes.
And the other half are, we're going to vote for Trump. The ones that are swaying in between are, the whole time have been questioning, obviously, Biden's ability to be president, obviously, all the news that we've been seeing. And after this weekend, I think they look at Trump. We're questioning Biden's mental competence, and then you see Trump survive a assassination attempt. It's only going to embolden that side. So
yeah,
in my head, I'm convinced. I don't want to see it, but I'm absolutely convinced now we are going to live with the Trump presidency for the next 4 years.
And God knows what happens beyond that, because his willingness to dismantle the basic frameworks of democracy is irrefutable and well established. I think, and it's a dreadful word, but even the most dreadful words sometimes are the perfect words. You're talking about optics, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
And you can't. I mean, he looked strong in that moment.
Absolutely.
In that moment, with his fist raised and his defiant demeanor, he looked strong, whether or not he was. Hysterical or how, it doesn't matter. He looked strong, and Biden looks fragile. He looks fragile, yeah. and that is crystallized now.
Yeah, he looked calm. That's the problem. He got up, put his hand in the air, with a fist pumped, and he didn't look scared at all. He looked absolutely undeterred. He looked like a man on a mission. And that, unfortunately, has not been the case with Biden.
No, I don't think I can argue with you, but I can wonder who we're talking about. Who are we imagining with the question of wobble? Are we talking about anyone minded to vote for him will now be more likely to do so, and anyone minded to vote for Biden will perhaps be a bit less likely to do so as his fragility is becomes clearer? We're not talking about a kind of mythical swing voter who somehow goes from a definite Biden to a definite Trump as a consequence of what we saw in Milwaukee.
Well, I know, I disagree, actually. I think,
really?
Yeah, I do. I think there's a lot of people there would have actually been questioning, like, I can't vote for Trump. It's the same thing of, like, if you think of, like, the country here in the UK, there's a lot of people who think, okay, I'm conservative, but I'm not a Johnsonian.
Yeah.
I'll hold my nose if I really, really have to, because I can't vote for Labour, but I might just spoil my vote. I think there's a lot of people in the US that are the same thing. They say, well, I can't vote for Trump because he's a Trumpian.
I'm a Republican, but I can't vote for Trump.
Correct. And I just think this is now completely swung. I honestly think that this has actually won a lot of those votes. And that's what worries me the most.
Well, that makes it's game over then. And yeah. He won't just win, he'll win huge.
I want to say nothing's changed.
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody sitting on the fence that now that Trump's been shot is like, oh, no, now I have to support Trump.
What about Robert Kennedy
I don't think
fans?
Those people exist. What
about Robert Kennedy voters? Do they might fit in that category?
I don't know what's in the minds of Robert Kennedy voters, to be honest.
No.
I honestly can't speak to them, but we're not voting for Biden or Trump in November. We're voting for democracy or authoritarianism. Have you read Project 2025?
I haven't read all of it, but I've been on a bit of a crash course this weekend. And I mean, that's
what we're looking at come January 20th, 2025, if Trump is elected.
Well, just give people listening a thumb.
Biden has to be the candidate because there are Republicans that will vote for Biden. There is no other candidate that Republicans would say, yeah, he can have my vote, or she.
What about the optics, to use that dreadful word? What about the obvious age-related fragility of Joe Biden?
I don't think it matters.
Versus that iconic image, and it's already iconic, and it's barely 24 hours old, that iconic image of Trump with blood on his face and his fist in the air.
Yeah, doesn't that look like somebody who was just shot at? Traumatized as hell, isn't he?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It looks defiant in the moment. The picture looks defiant. So you've got fragility versus defiance. And you might be right.
Like I said to your producer, Trump is a Marmite. You either hate him or you love him. Nothing has changed.
Well, you can't say that. I mean, you can. You just did.
Based on what I'm reading and seeing, and there's a ways behind. Even since the debate debacle,
yes,
the people behind Biden are even more behind Biden because there is no other candidate.
And when that becomes clear, so that could be interesting as well. When it becomes absolutely beyond doubt that Biden will be the candidate in November, that might have an effect on the polls as well. But I don't know. I hope you're right.
Biden will be the candidate in November.
I know that. I know that. But it hasn't. Okay. It's not crystal clear yet, is it? I mean, there is still talk, and there will be less talk now. But there was a lot of talk last week about him not being the candidate in November, but that's the bit I just don't know. The voter we're describing, who I think you're convinced doesn't exist, and I hope doesn't exist, is the voter who could go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, convicted felon or Sleepy Joe, and this will push them towards the convicted felon as opposed to the visibly old man.
I don't see it. The same people that supported Trump are still supporting Trump. I'm not seeing anybody anywhere say, "Oh, this has changed my mind."
No. I wonder if anyone's listening who fits into that category. This has changed my mind, as we often say on the programme. There is no point having a mind if you never change it. Although this would be a fairly harsh test of that theory. How on earth could you change your mind about a choice between, flawed goodness and abject depravity, simply because unforgivably and unconscionably the vessel of abject depravity has been the victim of an assassination attempt? Why did January the 6th change nothing? Khalid is in Edmonton. Khalid, what would you like to say?
Good morning, James.
Hello,
well, my wife's American, and I travel to the States quite regularly.
Okay.
I think the only way I can explain it is that Donald Trump is a cult. He's a cult leader. And some of his followers are just literally blind followers. Whatever he says, whatever he does, they will just follow him. No matter what. And I think it's a really sad state in states that we've seen in the US, and also increasingly here in the UK.
Yes.
In terms of people not being open-minded, not people questioning our politicians, not holding them to account, and actually saying I'm determined not to be ignorant, and I'm going to find out about a particular issue and look at both sides. We as an electorate have a part to play in these leaders becoming who they are, because we do not actually engage properly. We do not look at policies properly. We do not, look at the dissatisfaction.
Don't get distracted from the central question about January the 6th. No, sorry, I don't mean that rudely. I just mean I don't want to examine the broader malaise on this side of the Atlantic, because it wouldn't happen here, would it? I don't think. And I mean, even if we see Boris Johnson as being a cultish figure, the idea that we'd have a violent attack upon the Palace of Westminster with people baying for the blood of Oliver Dowden. If it happened, the idea that Johnson would somehow be back in the game 4 years later, looking like a return to Downing Street, I'm pretty sure that's unthinkable. No?
Well, it is true. I mean, he did prorogue Parliament illegally, and there was a huge movement to stop that.
That's not the same thing at all, is it? We're watching live television footage of people smashing their way into the Capitol. Yeah. So it is just, they'll believe absolutely anything if he tells them. You would see it as being that simple. They believe that the election was stolen. They believe that Mike Pence deserved to die. But that can't be half the population, can it, of America, or half the electorate?
Well, probably not half, but he's probably got a base of around 40%, and so it really does depend on those Republicans who don't support Donald Trump, who are looking at the Democrats and saying, well, frankly, I don't want to vote for Biden given his current situation, and saying, well, what do we do? And so,
so I can't vote for this guy because of January the 6th, but that doesn't seem to be happening.
Well, yeah, I mean, his base is increasing day by day, isn't it? I mean, like I say, his followers, and this incident of the weekend is only going to increase it, isn't it? It's going to make him a martyr figure. It's going to make him some sort of
I believe it's down to media. I think if you've got the way how the media is split in America, where you've got your Fox News and you've got your OANs, and you've got people who won't watch any other channel or any other news outlet. I think that Fox News kind of played it down, didn't they? Tucker Carlson, he pushed out, I mean, I don't know what his viewership was, but he pushed out a video that was edited and made out that it was a peaceful thing and it wasn't as bad as it was. And then you've got all those commentators on those channels sowing seeds of doubt, seeping into your logic. And if people are already biased and are fans of Trump,
they'll believe what they want to believe with just a little bit of help. A little bit of help. With a little bit. Well, January 6th wasn't that bad, or and they'll believe it because the commentators, the media, they sow those seeds. That's what it is. Except that on the Fox News undertook a full reverse on the results of the election. And as a consequence of that, they got sued by the manufacturers of the vote counting machines. Settled out of court for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So, but how many people know that? Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Fox News didn't talk about it. And if you're not watching, CNN is supposed to be biased. MSNBC, I think, is not that bad. I do like MSNBC. But if you're not watching those channels, and if you're in the middle of some place and you're just, you're tuned in on the internet, you've got your YouTube algorithm throwing stuff at you. You've got your Twitter algorithm. So you've got the people who believe it, the people who were there. I mean, there were thousands of people in Washington D.C. I think the last fellow mentioned a couple of hundred. I don't know how many actually breached the Capitol, but if you've got 174 injured police officers, there were probably quite a few more than that were protesting. But he literally said, the rally was called Save America. And he literally said, if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. And so there are people who believe that. There are people who, whether they responded to that rallying call or not, liked it and agreed with it. And then you've got the people you describe who are sort of lower level enthusiasts for what he represents and don't know enough about the bigger picture to have been perturbed in the way that we might expect them to be. But we're still sitting here, and these are all parts of the answer to the question, but we're still sitting here 4 years later waiting for a complete rerun of the same context. And that is mad, right? I mean, it's objectively mad. The events of January the 6th haven't mattered at all to anybody. I really think it's the media.
It must be a large part of it, and social media giving you an even bigger opt-out from reality.
Exactly, that's it. That's really it. I think the people on the other side are bothered about it, but I think the people on Trump's side, they just, as you said, they just need a little massage to say it wasn't as bad as it was. There you go, here's a little nudge.
They were just on holiday. They were just tourists peacefully visiting the Capitol. Jamie reminds us an actual member of Congress has said that. And the fact that he's going to pardon them, and in the sense of, does it matter to the other side? It matters because it gives you a really clear indication of what he is prepared to wave through, what he is prepared to encourage, and therefore what he is perhaps likely to do in the event of getting back into the White House. I think it's a much scarier scenario than when he actually won against Hillary Clinton, because what we feared then, we know now, and it hasn't moved the needle at all. It's crazy.